Raj, and thanks. Oh, just got the prompt that it's being recorded. Very official. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it, and I'm very interested to hear your thoughts about car sharing. I know it's I live in the suburbs myself, so I don't use it. It's like the car-centric mentality that we have out here. But when I was in university, and I know a lot of my cousins and friends that live in downtown, it's a very good approach. It's good to have that option, and I think slowly but surely as a society we're moving away from car-centric mentality, but it might take a few generations. So again, thanks for being here. We're here to chat about the Yonge North Subway extension, which is a project that we're very excited about, and Metrolinx and communities is excited about. It's about connecting the community of York Region and Toronto. So I'm going to share a slide. So it's quite high level. And then you can have any of the questions you might have. Happy to answer that. So as you may know, whether you take the subway or not, the Yonge subway line is the busiest line in Toronto, and extending it north from Finch up into York Region has been in discussion for I think over 20 years, if not longer. And over the last 8 to 9 years, it's become more prevalent, and York Region did a study in 2009, environmental study, and there was another one done in 2012, and then we just followed that up. Metrolinx did last year with the initial business case. So I'm going to go over high level, and you can stop me if you want in the middle, or we can save the questions for the end, wherever you feel comfortable. So this is the general route, the black line. We have 4 stations. 3 are confirmed, Steeles at Yonge and Steeles, and then we have 2 in the Richmond Hill, just north of 407, 1 at Bridge Station, which is essentially right next to where the current Langstaff GO station is. And then just north of there is High Tech, which will be connected to the Richmond Hill Center, which is expected to be a major growth area for Richmond Hill in terms of employment, in terms of future residential communities. So that's been a big driver for this alignment that we have here, is to ensure that the alignment ends in that Richmond Hill Center area where High Tech is. That's where we have, of course, the 4-7, we have the GO station, the GO line. We also have the BRT and the York Region Transit connection. So I believe someone from York Region Council had called it the Union Station of the North, to make it a big connector of transit nodes for folks just north of Toronto. So as we can see, there's going to be a projection of over 94,000 daily riders, and 26,000 more people that live within a small radius from these centers. And it's a total of 8 kilometers long extension from Finch, where the line ends now, up until High Tech. So as I mentioned, 3 of the stations are confirmed, and then we're doing a further study on the 4th station. We're looking at, in North York, there's Cummer Drury, there's Clark Station on the Thornhill side, just north of Steeles, and then Royal Orchard Station, which is just south of course, Richmond Hill. Those are the 3 stations that we're looking at. Some of the key benefits that we're looking here, you're saving up to 22 minutes on a round trip from York Region to downtown. So as we all know, any of us that live in the Greater Toronto area, just whether we drive, walk, take the bus or train, congestion is a major issue. More and more people are moving into the area, and the best way to accommodate that, and we spoke to that briefly this morning, is looking at different options like car sharing, looking at transit, buses, trains. So this is going to be a major player in helping reduce that travel time, and hopefully take people out of their cars and into the subway, and just give more options, really. As you can see, up to almost 8,000 fewer kilometers traveled by cars during morning rush hour is a projection here. And of course, the last point of 4,800 tons of yearly greenhouse gas emissions reduction. The environment is a major issue, and this will help reduce those emissions. So depending on how familiar you are with the history of this project in terms of the study, back in 2009, 2012, the options 1 and 2 were suggested. And those were essentially going straight up Yonge Street and fully underground as well, up to 3 stations. This newest alignment proposal that we publicized over the last few months, option 3, as you can see, the pink line goes a little bit, it veers to the east, and it meets up with the green line. If you can see, I don't know, so you can see my cursor, the green line is the go line. So this map doesn't do it justice, but essentially this line would go right next to or right under the green line, and then it'd come up to surface just north of Holy Cross Cemetery, just south of the 407, and then we'll have the Richmond Hill Bridge station right there, which would be on at level, so it would be above ground, whereas the rest of the line would be underground. So this option helps us meet at Bridge Station, helps ensure that we get the right curvature. And although I'm not an engineer, I know they've done a lot of studies on what's the best way to get to surface, and also ensure that we impact the least amount of homes. So there are challenges, and some of the challenges is tunneling and excavation in additional residential areas. So while we're trying to minimize how much we tunnel under homes, there are some homes in the Royal Orchard area, which is Thornhill. I'm not sure if any of you have friends or family in that area, but we are working with that community. A lot of them are very concerned. So that's a community that we're focusing on in terms of finding the best way to ensure that the least amount of disruption, and working with the various teams on that, including property impact teams as well. So that pink line is our option 3 that we're proposing now, and we're about to enter a study for environmental studies, which I'll talk about in a minute. So this is a bit of a more closer look at the transit hub at Bridge Station, how it'll open up new possibilities. It'll lead to less traffic congestion, and also connect, as I mentioned, to some of those other transit nodes like Viva Yonge Street Rapidway, the Highway 407, Richmond Hill GO Station, as well as Viva Highway 7 Rapidway. So that area is, over the next 10 to 15 years, is expected to see a lot of growth, and a big chunk of the population will be living there in a more dense community. So we're doing a public consultation overview, as we know. We've met with some groups. We're looking at getting input from groups such as you, as well as others in Vaughan, Markham, and the City of Toronto. And up to now, we've actually, this should be updated, should be 4, we just did one last week. So it's 4 virtual open house events that provide an overview where we are. And they saw the same on Wednesday, they saw the same presentation you're seeing now. And then we'll be creating community liaison committees. That's the smaller groups that we'll be meeting regularly and looking at having members of the community who are engaged and who want to know more, who have input and feedback. And so we're setting that up over the next few months. I find those smaller groups are much more productive and meaningful. Conversations are done in those settings compared to the big town hall settings, which is important for an informational standpoint, especially in the beginning of a project. But as we go along, I find those are very helpful. And then I'm going to be speaking about the environmental assessment process, which is just beginning now. And that's going to be looking at takes soil samples, noise and vibration tests and such. So I'll do an overview of this environmental studies, which are just beginning. We just started in early May. We have teams out in the field taking samples of observing wildlife, looking at vegetation, and taking noise and vibration testing. So as I mentioned, 2009, we had the initial environmental project report, which proposed 6 stations. And then we had an addendum in 2014, which includes a train storage facility at just north of Richmond Hill Center Station. So that train facility, that storage facility, it's just important to note, it's not a maintenance facility. It's only where the trains will be sleeping at night, and they might be doing some light cleaning in the inside. So the folks that live near there, which is about, I believe, close to just south of 16th Avenue, Coburg Crescent is a residential street, which is near there. They're not going to see any like heavy work being done there. So, and we're going to be building a noise wall as well. So then we talked about the initial business case in 2021, which is the one that was just released. And then we're doing the EPR addendum that's starting now, and it'll be going into next year. And the results of that, of course, will be released to the public, and we have a full engagement for that as well. And some of, I'll go over these quickly. We have the route, track work, and tunneling. As I mentioned, it's 8 kilometers extension. We have 2 tunnels between Finch and the portal, which the portal being the north end of the line. And we also have tunnels that will be excavated using 2 tunnel boring machines. So if you've been further south by Eglinton, where the Eglinton Crosstown is currently being constructed, I think they're close to completion. They use a tunnel boring machine which goes from one end to the other, and once it's underground, you don't feel it above ground. So they'll be using a similar type of machinery for this as well. I mentioned the train storage facility, which will be accommodating up to 15 6-car trains. That's where the trains will be stored. We also have traction power substations, and of course the emergency exit buildings, which are common for the TTC subway system, where if you're in the train and you need to have those emergency exit buildings, so they'll be building those as well throughout the alignment. And these are some of the studies or sub-studies that are happening now for the environmental work, including fish and habitat assessments, bird surveys, and then also looking at some of the cultural heritage. I know along Yonge Street, there are some heritage homes, so we're looking at that and ensuring that they are protected as well. And of course, air quality, noise, vibration, and traffic testing is part of environmental studies as well. And of course, land use and social economic impact. They look at local demographics, the homes and the people, as well as the employment and transit uses in that area as well. So determining how those impact on any sensitive facilities and the land use now, and also looking for the future as well. And archaeology is important, including engagement with the Indigenous nations. And then this is some of the upcoming work, which is a lot of the same, like frog call surveys, archaeological surveys, as well as doing a full land use and social economic virtual and visual assessment, which is part of the process. This will be done, I should say, from the south part of the alignment at Finch all the way up to Richmond Hill Center. This is a timeline. It's quite a busy slide, but essentially the main thing to look at is in the middle of the spring 2022 is when the actual early work start, which is the pre-construction, and then the actual construction would be starting where it says start of main contract 2024, and then the actual completion is estimated at around 2030. I think right now they're targeting the first quarter of the year 2030. So in about 9 years, this will be up and running, and it's part of, as you may know, 3 other subway projects in the GTA. One is the Ontario line, which goes from Exhibition Station up through downtown into the northeastern part of the city, and then we have Eglinton West Extension, which goes from current crosstown at the western and in Etobicoke up towards Pearson Airport, and then we have the Scarborough subway line as well. So this is the 4th one, and this one will be done after the Ontario line is done to ensure that the congestion on that line isn't too much to bear. And then the last slide here, we always welcome any ways to connect with us. We have all these channels where you can reach us through email, and we have a community voicemail as well as a website here. And I can share this deck with you too as well, March, so you have this information. Otherwise, if you need to connect with me, you can reach me through March as well. I'm happy to answer any questions. And yeah, I'll leave the slide on for a second, but in case you want to go back for any slides. But yeah, I'm free to answer any questions.